there, I'm Amy Murray from Teaching Exceptional Kinders, and today I'm here to chat about setting up alphabet routines in your kindergarten classroom. So the beginning of kindergarten is always tricky because you have kids coming to you from all different backgrounds and all different knowledge bases. So you have kids who can read, you have kids who barely know any letters, you have kids who know the letters in their name and only in that order, and the whole gamut in between. And somehow you have to find a way to reach all of these kids and teach them how to be in school. It can be a little bit overwhelming. So what I found is in teaching the alphabet, setting up routines is the key to consistency and helping kids to develop the school habits that you want them to have for later in the year, and also picking up on some knowledge along the way. So when introducing the alphabet in the first 30 days or so of school, I'm not introducing for mastery necessarily. For some kids, it's going to be review because they already know a lot of this. For some kids, it's going to be brand new. But really what I'm trying to do is exposing everyone to all the letters and sounds and developing good school habits and setting routines that we can use throughout the now has been the push to science of reading, which truly is a whole nother conversation, but we want to be cognizant of the way students learn. So I'm not necessarily teaching all of this for mastery or like I would be in a pure phonics lesson, but I'm treating the first 30 days of school as this is kindergarten, this is how we do things here, and we're going to practice. And while we practice the things that we need to do in kindergarten, we're going to learn some letters along the way. So it's not necessarily the only exposure that they're going to have to these phonemes and letters, but I'm just focusing primarily on alphabetic principles, not necessarily sounds yet. So the first thing that we do all together is create this anchor chart for each letter. Okay, I printed out things to do for the letter S today. Now, the other thing about introducing the alphabet is you will have to decide if you want to introduce in alphabetical order, if you want to follow a pattern that maybe your phonics, if you're lucky enough to have a good phonics curriculum, uses like Foundations. That was personally my favorite, but there's a whole bunch out there. So you may want to start there. It's really up to you, and you can find research on both ends of the spectrum. But remember, this is for alphabetic principles and not necessarily to teach them the phonemes so that we're building words and all of that yet. This is just a get to know kindergarten stage. So you can use an alphabetical order if you choose. We did for reference. But this is S because S is a common sound that phonics programs use towards the beginning. So on the anchor chart, let me pull it a little closer here. So on our anchor chart, we have all about the letter, and then we'll put the letter there. So all about the letter S. And then we'll practice rainbow writing S, the uppercase and the lowercase. And then we'll have a student draw the uppercase, we'll have a student write the uppercase and lowercase letter. Check if it's a consonant or a vowel. It is a consonant, of course. And then over here, words that begin with S. Now, if you prefer to focus on the sound there to more align with the science of reading and focusing on phonemes, because words don't start with letters necessarily, words start with sounds. That's how kids hear them first. You could just simply put the little slashes there and make it a sound. All right, and then you could say words that begin with S, and that's an easy fix. All right, so let's make the uppercase S and the lowercase s there. And that's the beginning of your anchor chart. So now you've got the beginning of your anchor chart there, and you need some pictures. So it's the beauty of these anchor charts. We've got the pictures to go with. So then you'll just glue the pictures up there, and you can choose to write the words underneath. So this one includes surf, soccer, sun. There's a whole bunch here. Soap. Okay, so you'll glue the different words that begin with S up there, and then this is your anchor chart. This is your whole group. You're talking about the letter S, you're making your anchor chart, you're adding pictures of words that start with S, and you don't necessarily have to draw them. I'm not the world's best artist. I get that we need to teach students how to draw, but it's just not something that makes me comfortable. And so putting myself out there when I'm already maybe a little bit anxious about setting these routines, having the picture cards is it's just a game changer for me. It helped me to be more consistent and more confident in what I was teaching. So you have your letter or your picture cards up there. Let me glue these up and grab the letter sound poster. So, and to start my whole group lesson, I would share our sound poem, and it goes a little bit to like a song. A letter force is S, a letter force is S. I know my sounds as you can see. A letter force is S. Like slithering sneaky snake. A letter force is S. So that introduces the letter and the sound, and then you can talk about slither, sneaky, snake, and all those sounds. Okay, so we start with our poem, and then we'll move to the anchor chart, and we'll talk about how we make the letter and how we properly write the letter, have them write in uppercase and a lowercase, whether it's a consonant or a vowel, and then we would add words. There's a better look at our anchor chart. Then we would add the words that begin with S. And I like to write them and underline. You could even have a student come and underline the first letter in the word so they actually see that the S is representing this sound in those words. So we would do that as a whole group, and then they would have some independent activities to go with those anchor charts. So all about the letter S. And while the students were working on their independent activities, I could pull them one at a time to get our DIBELS testing done, to get our beginning of the year benchmarks done, and those kinds of things, or just small groups to get to know the kids. But this time, after a couple of letters, really after the first week, they knew how to do things independently, which is why it's so critical to set up your routines. So you have your whole group routine. And after that, they have 3 jobs, and maybe 4 if you want to introduce center time as well. So the first job is to sort of recreate the anchor chart. So they have all the tools they need to match the anchor chart, and they write their name. We put this inside a workbook actually. And so they just turn to the S page, and I would give them their little rectangle of cutouts. They would cut, color, and glue the pictures just like we did on the board. So that was job number 1, was their anchor chart worksheet or workbook. Their letter S workbook is what we called it. Then job number 2 was create their letter S hats. Okay, they color the picture. They practice writing uppercase and lowercase, and then they cut out the just around. You don't need me to cut it out. Then they cut out around just the outside edges. And the first couple of days, a couple of kids will cut right across the bottom, and that's okay, just print extras. And as they get better at it, they will remember. After a few days, they don't need all the reminders to not cut across there. So you cut out around the outside, and you can glue this to a sentence strip or some cardstock and then staple it. And then they have their letter S hats that they can wear proudly around the school and home to show mom and dad what letter they learned. And the picture will help them with what sound the letter makes. All right, job number 3 are these letter books. They're mini letter books, and I like to keep this almost like errorless. So I would do an example, and I would keep the example up front. Then they could come and check it if they need to, or they can complete it independently. So that sort of scaffolds the support students may need. Inside the letter book, you have rainbow writing for uppercase and lowercase letters. Then find the letters. So they just circle or mark, or if you have dot markers, they could use those. And then they write how many they found. And then handwriting for uppercase. So they trace and then do a line of their own, and lowercase, same. And then color the pictures that begin with S, okay, or begin with S. And these pictures, sun, star, and sock, are all up there. So it's not like a surprise. And then the last one says draw something that begins with the sound. S is for, they don't need to, but they could copy a word from up there if they're ready for that, and then draw a picture to match their word. So that is their little mini books, and that would keep them busy for quite a while. There were some years that if we didn't have as much time, or some days that if we didn't have as much time, they could take their mini books home with them, and they could finish them at home, because it's the same for each letter, just the letter and sound changes. That is their mini book, and those were the 3 jobs that I had. And then if they finished all of that, I always had fine motor mats ready to go for them. And then they could practice in letter tubs, we called them. We had tracing and Play-Doh letters and dotting the letters and all different letter activities that were like fine motor based, and that kept them busy until it was time to move on to our next activity. So from start to finish, this could be like 45 minutes in your classroom. It could be you take parts out, and it could be 20 minutes. It just depends. But like with the whole group activity being like 10 minutes or so, and then giving them the independent time to work, so you can pull students and get to know them at the beginning of the year. It's a great way to set up routines, teach students how to be in school, teach them how to be more independent, and get the information that you need to get to know your kids and get started on the right. Any questions or want some more information about alphabet routines, you can check out the blog post that I'll link below. If you're interested in these alphabet activities, you can find them on my website store or in TPT store. I will leave those links below too. If this video was helpful to you, please like and subscribe for more. And you can always reach me at amy@teachingexceptionalkinders.com. If you're using these in your classroom, please tag me on Instagram at teachingexceptionalkinders. Until next time, have an exceptional day.